Welcome, everyone. I have such a special treat for you today. With me on the podcast is my client, Brooke Palmer, a flower farmer, and she's going to talk about her experience working with me in the coaching program and the success she's created for herself using what I teach. So, Brooke, thanks for being here. Welcome. Tell everyone about you, who you are, where you farm, your farm name, all the goodies.
Okay. Hi, Charlotte. Thanks for having me. I'm Brooke Palmer. My flower farm is called Jenny Creek Flowers, and it's located in Trumansburg, New York, which is right outside of Ithaca, New York. That's where most people would know. And I'm in my fourth year with my flower farm.
How exciting. What's your website so they can look you up?
They can find me at jennycreekflowers.com.
Okay, perfect. Great. Well, thank you. So, as I love to start with all farmers, most farmers come to me and they're overwhelmed or scared or, losing money. Tell us about your journey. Like, where were you before you started this program? And when was that? Has it been 2 years or even more?
Yeah, I've been in the program for 2 years now.
Okay.
When I renew in the fall, that will be my third year in the program, and I'm going to stay in the program. But before I joined, I was a nearly 20-year educator who was also growing flowers. I've been a high school teacher since 1999, and as much as I loved teaching, I knew that I was ready to make my passion for flower farming my full-time job. And so, a bit uniquely, I actually first started growing flowers in the winter. And the kind of biggest part of my business is forcing winter tulips. So my farm started in the middle of winter rather than like the peak of summer. And what happened was I started to grow these flowers, and they were absolutely beautiful. And it occurred to me, two things occurred to me. One was, I can do this. I can grow these flowers. I can do this, but I don't actually know how to sell them. So I know how to grow, but I don't know how to sell. And I'd been a gardener for a long time, maybe 15 years. So I wasn't so worried about how I was going to get the flowers. I was worried about how I was going to get them to people. Like, I didn't want to just grow these flowers and have them all filling my house and feel really sad that I couldn't sell them. So I started to look into the need for marketing, and that's where I joined your program.
Fantastic. And let's fast forward to you have been made it a goal to leave your day job
Yeah.
teaching, and you finally did that.
Yes, I my goal was to see if I could do it in 3 years. It was fast and furious. It was a lot of work, but there's absolutely no way that I would be just transitioning to full time on my flower farm like I am if I hadn't have been in this program, because the skills that I learned in the program through my time management and marketing and mindset are absolutely the things that have enabled me to grow my business.
Yes, I'm so glad you just said that those three things because those three are the what I call the three crucial pillars of a profitable farm: time management, marketing, which is money, time,
Mhm.
money, and mindset. And without with if you're lacking any one of those, you won't be successful. You've obviously just said that, so you've noticed that. But could you
Yeah.
imagine a life without knowing how to create money or knowing how to manage your time or the mindset? Like they're
No,
so equally powerful.
it's like the three legs of a stool, and it just topples if you don't have one of those pieces. And anytime I feel wobbly, I can look at it from that perspective and say, "Oh, it's my mindset," or "Oh, it's my time management," and I can just kind of reevaluate how things are going and reframe using one of those three areas.
Yes, wonderful. So tell me, what were you doing I assume you tried to sell something before you started the program,
Mhm.
which made you realize you didn't know how to sell. What did you do? What did you try that didn't work?
Well, I did start my email list very early, so that was at least something. I think what I honestly did was I signed up for all of your free classes,
Yeah.
and I took them like every webinar, and I watched it and rewatched it, and I just tried to like utilize your free resources, which honestly really got me going. So I highly recommend that. And I always recommend that to people. But so I had started an email list. I didn't know what to put in it, but I sent emails out. So it was an attempt and it started. But you know, I did a lot of like trying to sell flowers through Facebook DMs, and it was a lot. It was just a lot to like chat there and turn it over to my phone. And I had things getting picked up off my side porch, and it just felt crazy and not organized. It didn't feel like a very calm way. And there was this ongoing hustle feeling that I had. So that was when I realized like what I really want to be doing is offering subscriptions. And I want to be selling those through my website and then using email to connect and build relationships with my customers and let them know about my farm and my offerings.
Yes, and what you just described is the process I teach, how to build, like you're starting your email list, but then how to build a list where they are engaged and connected to you. And you've had so much success. The reason you're here is you just posted that you've taken all the learning, including the 5-day sales launch I teach, and you're ready for your September launch. We are a month early. You have everything done. Tell me about that. Tell me what that's like to take the last 2 years to learn a process where now you have so much more time, money. I think you said you're going to make more in that week than you made your whole first year. Tell me what that
Mm-hmm.
is like. Like, talk about the pieces, what you learned that helps set you up for success for this upcoming fall launch. First of all, tell us what you're launching.
Okay, yeah. So my signature offering is my 10-week winter tulip subscription. And for the last couple of years, those have sold out really quickly. Because I'm full time now, I'm increasing my number of shares. So I've taken a few years, I'm scaling up, and I feel really excited and confident that those shares are going to also sell out. And so the things that I've really used from the program that I think have gotten me here, the main one is my time management. So setting up what you call the focus time. So having these sessions during the week, they're pre-scheduled. I really stick to them where I'm working on my farm rather than just working in my farm, and in my farm being like my hands are in the soil, I'm harvesting flowers, I'm wrapping bouquets, but instead I'm at my computer, I'm crunching my numbers, I'm planning, I'm editing my website, I'm preparing my email copy. So I've had this focus time so that I can really, go from A to Z with my goals. Another skill is my mindset that, I have my little phrases and I have my ways to, anytime I feel overwhelmed, to like reconnect there and recognize that if I start thinking in this positive way, then my actions are going to follow that. But absolutely the 5-day sales launch piece has been pivotal because like I said, when I first started to send out emails, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if they wanted to hear about my dog. I didn't know if what people wanted. And so through that process, I've become really clear on what are my customers really craving and wanting related to flowers, especially in the winter when it's really awful weather here. And then how am I using words and letting my voice and personality come through in an email so that they're ready to like hit that button and make that investment in their self-care through flowers.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you just described like every step of the program, including we start out with module 1 where you get to know your dream customer. You know who exactly you're talking to. You know what she wants from you. You know how you're helping her. And then you never run out of content. So tell me about that process. I know you said before you started the program, you
Mhm.
didn't know what to write about. How has like learning, what I call your dream customer, learning about her, how has that made coming up with content easier for you?
Yeah, that it's been easier because instead of thinking like, oh, I have hundreds of people on a list and I'm just sending out there, I tend to think of 2 or 3 specific people that I'm writing to. So the people who kind of emulate like my most typical customer. So I feel like that's created this more human relational aspect because I'm not just like a email marketing software person,
Yeah.
in someone's inbox. Like I'm a human being and they're a human being. And even though they're not on my farm every day, I want to connect with them. And so that's been really useful. Specifically, I've been able to do coaching around my copy. So I've gotten some copywriting coaching in the
Yes.
program. That's been useful. But other people have too. So that's really fantastic. Even though like I don't, sell chicken or eggs, I can still have been able to learn from other people's coaching throughout their 5-day sales launch practice. So it's like getting better at myself, but also just getting better. We get better from one another in the program.
Yeah. Yes. And I just reviewed a sales email this week, and what is she selling? Oh, she's selling something totally unrelated to flowers. And talk about that. Talk about how you're in a group with, many other farmers, and there's no two farms alike. Like you're all
Mm-hmm.
selling different things, and you're all selling in different ways. Certainly there's tons of flower farmers, but you all have there's nobody else doing a winter tulip CSA. Like that is unique to you in the hundreds of farmers in the program. And then there's meat, every kind of
Mm-hmm.
meat. And there's alpaca, there's fish, there's oysters, there's of course eggs and milk and chickens and all that. How has that what has that experience been like for you?
Well, I actually really love that experience. I love that it like puts my thinking into this like farm bubble rather than just this flower bubble because it makes me realize how universal a small farm owner, like the challenges and the triumphs are for a small farm owner, whether, like you said, it's alpaca or flowers or eggs or beef. We all have the same challenges, right? Which is like, we want to have a successful business. We want to have time for our families. We want to be able to take vacation. We don't want to work 15 hours a day. And we want to be able to put the thing that we're creating into the hands of our customers in a way that they are delighted by it. Like we know we're doing something good and we want them to enjoy it. And so it's so clear immediately how we have the same exact challenges. And then I think because people have different outlets, you can just learn something, you can glean something different from people's unique experiences. It's been very eye opening.
Yeah, I love that. And I just noticed the ahas that happen with everyone, like, oh, she's selling meat in this unique way. I can do something similar with my flowers. Like it
Mm-hmm,
inspires you. You get inspiration from a completely different niche that makes you stand out in your
mm-hmm,
particular niche. And I love seeing that. I also love that you said you realized all farmers have the same unique set of problems, because a lot of people, when they listen to these podcasts or they read my stuff and then they email me and they say, well, I think I'm really unique and special unicorn and I have a set of problems that nobody else has. And you just kind of spoke to that they're really like whatever. And the problem could be personal too.
mm-hmm.
It could
Yeah.
be that I'm taking care of this kind of family member with this kind of thing. And so therefore, I don't know if this will work for me. And it always does. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, like for to look think about the group coaching session. So usually there's 3 or 4 people, and it isn't always that they're flower farmers. They might be, one of them might be. But I think to what you said is absolutely right. Someone could be talking about how their mother-in-law's health is impacting their time management, right? And maybe, that's not my exact circumstances, but there's always a chance to kind of pause and learn like, oh, right, how is this part of my life impacting my time management? Or how does maybe a challenge with an employee or not having enough employees, like, yeah, that maybe that's my context too. So I think it builds in a lot of opportunity for reflection and perspective building.
Yeah. And it just supports, like, have you ever, I know some people I talked with, a lot of farmers will feel alone. And then
Mhm.
they come in there and they experience it oh, everyone else is struggling with things very
Yes.
similar.
Yes.
Yes. Have you
Yes.
have you
Yeah, I was
noticed
gonna
that?
say that like there's that feeling of like I'm not alone. And it's very normalizing, like, oh, we all want to do this thing and we all are building these skills and no one's got it all figured out, but here we are. And it's very uplifting, I really find it. And even if, I don't know them all personally, everyone in there, there's
Yes.
really that shared sense.
And a lot of times, because I was where you are, I was where all of you were before I found this work, a decade ago. And I remember when you feel alone, you hide your problems. You
Yeah.
hide what you're struggling with because you think, why am I not getting it? Why am I not getting this farm sales marketing time? Why do I have no time and everyone else does? Because you feel so alone and you hide it. And I'm always so honored and awed, AWED, odd, that people come on the coaching calls and share their personal, deeply personal things that are going on that are keeping them stuck in their farm business because
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel alone anymore. They have that sense of support from an encouragement that
Mm-hmm.
you may not have their exact problem, but you have enough circumstances that it still applies to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can feel your own growth also through other people's process, right? Like they're navigating their situations, and I feel like I can kind of reflect and be like, oh yeah, I had that, but like here's a way that I've overcome that. So it also really it helps in the camaraderie, but also just in kind of recognizing growth.
Yeah, you see how far you've come in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I also love having everybody in there together. Now that you've been there 2 years, someone who's brand new can see your success. They're going to hear it on the podcast here and realize there's hope for them. Like, oh, I didn't know how to sell either. And she gives me hope that I'll be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What's I would love to, I know I'm circling back to your upcoming launch. I would love to know what what the feeling, what it's like now to have it all settled and in place versus, like you said, before 2 years ago, someone's picking up on your side porch and someone else you're messaging on Facebook and trying to arrange a time to pick up and you're scattered and harried. What's it like now, today, to have it all set and in place to launch in September?
I'm just really excited. Like I'm so excited. I almost keep catching myself like, am I forgetting something? I must be forgetting something because it's been this process of not knowing what I need to do, to seeing what I need to learn how to do, to realizing like I've learned how to do this. And now I'm just going to trust the process and check off the boxes. So it's really exciting and honestly, like it's very liberating. I feel like this is where one of the biggest changes is coming in is like I'm excited to sell my flowers. I'm not just excited to grow my flowers. Like I love growing my flowers. I love being out there. I love taking their pictures, but I'm excited to sell them because at the end of the day, I'm not growing those flowers for me. I'm growing those flowers for the women who are going to have 10 weeks of tulips on their kitchen table to get them through January, February, and most of March when it's just miserable and mucky outside. So I feel excited because I know that the tulips are going to get to those people, and that's the exact opposite of how I felt when I first grew the tulips. I
I
felt like I've got
love,
them. Where do I get
yeah,
them? How do I get them there?
that mindset shift is so crucial. And when someone I was just coaching someone on this earlier this week, or it was last week. And when you forget that why, or you haven't thought of it yet, before 2 years ago, you weren't thinking of specific people. You were thinking of, oh my gosh, how can I sell some of these? How can I move them? Who else can I get to pick
Mm-hmm.
up on my side porch? And now you have a specific person in mind and it's a bigger why. And so when times get tough, you have this purpose. It's bigger than just
Mm-hmm.
you. It's not like
Yes.
I just have a greenhouse I like to go, do a lot of physical labor in. You have the
Right.
big picture of all these very specific women that you're going to change their lives through the darkest days of the
Hmm.
year. And they're going to look forward to what you put in their hands each week. Like having that purpose is, tell me about that. Tell me what that is like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel really lucky. I feel lucky, and it makes me like push through the work. I mean, it's honestly, it wasn't easy to be working teaching high school full time and being a mom and building my business, but it was that purpose, and it was like that trusting that I knew I was going to get to the other side, because I felt like I saw these skills that they were there, and then I had this program and it was going to help me get there. And so I just feel really lucky now. I feel a lot of gratitude for it. And it just helps me continue to refine. Like
Yeah.
my weekly calendar right now is better than ever in terms of my time management. And I feel like it's all just fueling a constant improvement cycle, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I can't wait to hear the results of your launch. Let's touch on time management for a minute. That is, like you said, it's one of the three legs of the stool. Without any one of them, your farm won't work. And that's the first class. When everyone joins the program, I say, I know you want to make more money through marketing, but you've got to go through the time management program first.
Hmm.
Tell me your experience with that, because I have just it's been life changing for me.
Yes.
But tell us, yeah, what that's been like for you.
Yeah. Well, in the short version, anytime my life feels crazy, I can immediately recognize I slipped off my calendar, right? That's like my short version. But on the longer version, I had to come to terms with the reality that there were so many hours in the day, and often the amount of things I wanted to get done felt like it couldn't fit into all of the boxes. But my responsibility was to not just push it aside, but was to actually like make boxes and start to fill them in. And so that the biggest thing that I've learned in the time management is really in calendaring out my week and considering how long my tasks are going to take and putting that down. I build in, like, this morning was Wednesday, so my Wednesdays always start with a block of what I call flex time, because I recognize that on Monday or Tuesday there will be things I don't get done. So I have this built-in time Wednesday mornings that I can flex. So if that means I need to catch up on office stuff, I can. If I need to do something in the field I didn't get done, I can. And then I have my built-in focus time 5 days a week. And I have multiple sessions for that. So when I look at all of the things that I need to take care of, like going into my QuickBooks, writing my emails, doing like my social media, whatever it is, a new enterprise, planning my tulip launch, I just have the time. And I just let my calendar at this point dictate, like, oh,
Yeah.
now I'm sitting down, it's time to sit down and open my QuickBooks, like it's Money Monday, and that's what I do now. And it's completely changed my life
Yeah.
in the sense of feeling extremely scattered.
Hmm. Money Monday. I love that. That's I love hearing this. And the like, you can't monetize that. Like, what is that worth financially? When I teach you all the calendaring process I use of doing what you just described, it frees up so many, like how many hours in your week
Hmm.
do you think you got back because of the way you think about time and the calendaring process? Most people say 10 to 20. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, like I do not work outside in my field past like 11:30, 12 any day of the week, and it's like midsummer. I'm moving a lot of flowers every week, but I have everything scheduled in a way where I don't feel like I'm just racing from one thing to another right now. It feels like there is time. And if it's the afternoon and it's hot and I want to go take my kids swimming, I can do that because I know I have that flex time put into my schedule. So it's both like getting time back, but it's also feeling like my quality of life is greatly improved right now.
Hmm.
And what one thing I do want to say there is that obviously I just left my full-time job. And so I also had to use the time management even when I didn't have the abundance of time. And it was a little bit crazy. I'm not going to lie. Like I had this morning where I had things mapped out in 15-minute increments, but it was what I had to do. And instead of hating it, I learned to just say, okay, if this is, I'm like, I'm here and I'm going there. In order to get there, I need to have this time schedule. I've got 15 minutes. And then what happened was the day that I came into my office when I was done teaching, I realized here is my opportunity. I'm either going to like use everything in this program or not. I've been practicing this little micro schedule. So now I'm just going to make it my macro, and I set up my weekly workflow, and I just immediately transitioned into like using the calendaring process, but just being able to have more time to be able to attend to things and more balance. So that time management helped me when I was like doing the side hustle farming as much as now that I'm full time.
Yes, and most people come to farming with a day job, or
Absolutely.
they are homeschooling their kids, which is
Yep.
another job, or they have other things, and the time management, like you said, when you were teaching full time, it was 15-minute increments starting
Yep.
early in the morning. And that was the price you were willing to pay to be able to quit your day job. Can you speak to this for a second? Because I think there's going to be a lot of women listening who think when you just describe that, they'll be like, well, yeah, she did it, but I don't see how that's possible. They just don't see how it's possible. And I do these interviews so that everyone listening can start to consider that Brooke is not a special unicorn, or you're a special unicorn as much as all of us are special unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
You are just like anyone listening, and you were able to create this life using the time management and the marketing money making skills you learned to quit your day job and farm full time and have this very fulfilling life where you're done in the fields by 11:30, you're swimming with your kids in the afternoons in the summer, or whatever you're doing in the winter, you have this family time, free time. To the people listening who think, oh, that's just absurd, no farmer lives that way. Well, the farmers in the program do. We hear this all the time, like, oh my gosh, I'm 6 months in and I finally created this. What would you say to the people who are listening and just can't see that how it could be possible for them?
Yeah, I would say that it's probably doesn't seem possible because there are skills that just haven't been developed yet. That and I even say this to my son, in his life, like there's no one who's successful in any business sector that hasn't really ultimately mastered their calendar. I think that it's impossible to be successful anywhere. So I think that um, trust that the skills are learnable and they're very well taught in the program. And sometimes we can't, if everybody can't figure it out, like it would have been amazing if I had grown those tulips in that first winter, figured it out on my own, like, oh, I've got it figured out. But we're just not born knowing how to do all of those things. So to have this community and to have these modules in this program that can help them, I would say just trust that the skills are there. They're not that complicated, but they're profound when they're put together in action.
Yes, and they take practice. It's why it's not
That's right.
a 6 week program. It's why it's a year-long program. You need that time to retrain your brain to think
And so
differently.
many people do it for more than 1 year because right, you
It's
start to go through phases and then you need to revisit. And I'm sure like I have things that I want to dig into this winter when I have a little more quiet time that I
yes.
have just haven't been able to put into my calendar yet.
Yes, and that's the beauty of it is you can come back and re rewrite you'll do the sales launch in September, and then you could come back in the program and get coaching on the emails you used to make them better. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly improving. It's not once and done. it's developmental. So every time you go through the marketing training or the time management training, you learn new levels of implementation and fine tuning, and you
Mm-hmm.
continue to learn ways to create more time, more money, more joy, more peace and calm in your life every time you go through it, even multiple times in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I love that. And so then speak to that. Like, here you are 2 years in. How have you grown in the last year, in year two versus year one?
Yeah. I think that on my one of my daily clipboards, I have the little phrase at the top of it. It says calm down. And so every time I go to look at it, like that's my reminder. And so I think that that's been a lot of my growth. It doesn't mean it's like been perfectly linear or always forward. There might be some zigzagging, but just this idea of cultivating a more calm life has been really what the last year in the program has been for me. And I would say like I'm just getting there now, and now that's where I'm ready to go a little bit deeper. Like where are the other ways that I can be doing these things? I can be building a profitable business, but feeling more calm while I do it rather than. And I can even find it now, like how I had said, like I'm looking around for something when my tulip launch is ready. My
Mhm.
mind is wired to be
To think.
frenzied, and it
Yes.
wants to do that. And so I'll be like, no, actually, let's look at the calendar. Like, that's not where I'm at right now. And so I'm just going to calm down and I'm going to let myself not look for trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. And just acknowledge that, of course, your brain's going to look for trouble because that's what it's
Mm-hmm.
wired to
Yep.
do, but you're set. Well, I can't wait to hear about the lunch. And the beauty of being in a coaching program is you can reach out for coaching in the middle of your launch. If you're stressed, worried, need some fine tuning,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, we're always here for you. So I love that too. Um, what would you say to, because you're making huge changes in your life, in your farm. It's going to change your life forever. It's going to change your kids' lives, and it's going to improve every area of your life. And you were willing to invest the
Mm-hmm.
money to do that. There are many of us are socialized, especially as farmers and especially as women, like spend the money on your kids and the
Mm-hmm.
farm first. Don't spend the money on yourself. So for the person listening who, what you're saying sounds amazing. Like, you're making money, you quit your day job, you can play with your kids any afternoon because you're done with the work at a certain time. You're selling out with ease. You're doing your marketing with ease. You have, time and money and calm. So for the woman listening who wants this, but is afraid, like maybe she's hesitant, she doesn't know if it'll work for her. She's afraid to
Mm-hmm.
spend the money, which, by the way, there's, all kinds of different payment plans, but it's a money making program too. You will make money when you join. So what would you say to the woman who's just has never invested in herself like this before and is hesitant, doubtful, and concerned and nervous?
Yeah, I would say if you have that glimmer in your heart, you can feel that you have your farm dream and you're at whatever stage with it, and you know that you don't have yet what it takes, but you have that glimmer, like you could get it if you had the support. And I would say just follow that, and be really open-minded, because it's a lovely community and it's a lovely program. And do the payment plan and put yourself first, because if you don't do that, you're going to be so much slower to get to that farm dream that you're nurturing.
Yes, and often I talk about, if you don't put yourself first, everyone else struggles. Tell
Mm-hmm.
us, because you prioritized yourself, you invested in yourself, your learning, how has that benefited your family and
Mm-hmm.
your relationships?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that morning time management piece is a perfect example where, at a point in the last year where things were getting a little like I was a little bit stressed in the mornings, and that was impacting my families. And my family had to go back in and say, oh, I got to get back on my time management. And I did. And everybody feels better and everybody reacts because they see like mom is way less stressed out. And therefore, the whole family is less stressed out. And then when my teenage son started working with me on the farm this summer, the first couple days, he kept coming and telling his dad, saying, it's crazy. I have it like mom, she's so relaxed and it's great. And she's just in such a good mood. And I was like, here it is. Like I've been working towards this thing. And now I have all the time and all the skills and I'm putting it into play. So it was just like a really lovely first couple weeks in this transition and definitely recognized by my family.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And what's that mean to you long term?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything, because like my hope is my kid wants to be an entrepreneur of some sort. And I want him to be able to see, like, follow a dream, and you can follow a dream and not just agonize while doing it, but you can follow a dream and be excited and inspired and profitable and feel successful in all these ways. Um, and also that like following a dream doesn't take mom away from the family, like it gives to the family. It's part of our family story. And
Mhm.
I think
Yeah, it
there's a
makes you a
lot of
better
those things.
mother, a better
Yeah.
wife. I know that
Hmm.
just because I hear it uh, infinitely from everyone else.
Yeah.
And so and also just speaking to that for a second, the time, money, and mindset, those three legs of the stool will benefit. Like you said, you hope your child wants to be an
Hmm.
entrepreneur. Those are the three legs of the stool of any business, whatever you go
Right.
into. And one might even say, even if you go it just growing up, just being a,
Life.
yes, and a developed adult, sending your kids into adulthood, being around a mother who is role modeling the money skill, the time management skill, and the mindset management skill is
Hmm.
going to change their life
Yeah.
forever too.
Yeah, and I feel like it makes me a better mindset coach for him, and making those like my inner processes more visible for him. And he needs the mindset coaching a lot. I mean, what teenager doesn't?
I hear that a lot from people in the program, that their kids start picking up on their time management skills
Hmm.
that you have learned, and it's changed their life. And one mom even incorporated it into her homeschool practice, teaching the time management skills I teach. So have you noticed that with your son, especially, but with your kids?
Yeah, I have. And I noticed that he understands, like he also understands the schedule in a way, like, oh, it's not that like, no one wants to be doing X, Y, or Z right now. It's like, this is what's on the calendar right now. And so there's like the respect for that time.
Yep, you never have multiple things that need to be done at the same time because you've learned how to calendar them
Hmm.
separately.
Yeah.
So when it's time to do this in the greenhouse, that's all that's on the calendar in that time block, and it's so freeing and relieving, and it is a learned skill.
Hmm.
People come to the program not knowing how to assign everything individual time blocks. They think, oh,
Yeah.
I need to get these 5 things done today. And it just causes so much overwhelm. And you've learned how to, and to schedule them separately, which calms your mind down. And then you become more productive and
Hmm.
efficient too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. I should have asked at the beginning, how many kids do you have?
I just have one. He's
Okay.
going to be 14.
Ah, so fun. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And what did you teach in high school?
I taught 10th grade English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous. There's lots of teachers in the program.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah, I think teaching and farming are real natural, right? Because you get those summers off and you start to grow things or
Mhm.
raise animals or whatever it is.
And I know that you loved your job teaching,
Yes.
but what does it mean to be able to leave that job
Hmm.
and come home to the farm, running your own farm, which is no less work, but you're in charge of your own schedule? What does
Hmm.
that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. I'm not gonna say there's not like a bittersweetness that I'll go through, especially like as back to school happens here, because we're not back to school quite yet. Um, there's bittersweetness, absolutely. But there's like this freedom to it and this excitement to it. And I don't know, it's like, I mean, I've been going to school since I was 4 years old. So it feels like reclaiming my life in a way that I've never experienced.
Right, that's true. I wonder, well,
Yeah.
in September, if you need coaching because you're not
Yeah,
going
okay.
back to
Yeah,
school,
I will absolutely do that.
reach out for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Any last things you want to share with about anything?
Um, I would say, I guess, sometimes I hear this in the farming groups I'm in. People make this comment. They say, I hate selling. Like, I love growing flowers, but I hate selling. And I would say that there's so much opportunity if you are that person and you feel that way, that like use that as an opportunity to say, that's just my point A. And like, what if I loved the thing I'm farming and I loved selling? Like, oh, kind of just open your mind and heart to that possibility, because if we can't sell, then we can't really succeed. Like at the
I
end of the day.
You won't be around long term.
No.
You won't be. I love that you brought that up because that's the very first thing I teach in the marketing class is we've got to shift to a mindset of selling is serving. You
Absolutely.
are not helping your women get through the darkest days of winter if you don't sell to them. So you are
That's right.
serving them when you sell to them. And that can take a year. It can take a year to shift that mindset in the program.
Mhm.
And I'd love to just piggyback on what you just said and say this program teaches you to love selling
It
because
really
you're
does.
serving
Yeah.
and because of the emails you start getting from your customers that say, oh my gosh, the tulips are especially needed this week for this
Hmm.
reason. You have no idea, as the farmer, you and everyone listening, how you are changing lives with your products. You for every one email you get telling you
Hmm.
how it made their day, whether it's meat, milk, eggs, flowers, anything, for one email you get, there are 100 more people who didn't take the
Yeah.
time to reach out, but you changed their life. So yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because you will learn to love selling in this program
Hmm.
because selling is how you change lives.
Yep.
And
It
we
really is.
all love the experience of
Yeah.
improving people's lives.
And we all buy things. Like, that's our, like, we do that. We sign up for email lists and we buy things and we like certain businesses and products. And so it's just a really natural part of how we all live.
Yep. And it just takes a mindset shift. Instead of selling is icky and pushy and yucky to selling is serving. Selling is how I change women's lives during the
Hmm.
darkest days of winter.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. You're going to change so many lives just by sharing your story here today so that people know there's hope for them and there's help for them out here. So thank you for
Thank
being
you for
here.
having me, Charlotte.
You're welcome.